For over a decade, Marco Rossi had owned and operated Rossi's Trattoria, a cozy Italian restaurant nestled in the heart of downtown Chicago. Known for its warm ambience, authentic recipes passed down through generations, and Marco's larger-than-life personality, the Trattoria was more than just a business. It was a cornerstone of the community. Yet, despite its success, Marco often felt overwhelmed by the demands of running a bustling restaurant. Between managing staff, juggling suppliers, and ensuring every dish met his exacting standards, he rarely took time to reflect on the people who kept his dream alive. One such person was Elena Morales, a soft-spoken line cook who had worked at Rossi's for nearly 5 years. Elena had joined the team shortly after emigrating from Mexico, bringing with her an unparalleled work ethic and a quiet determination that earned her respect among her peers. She wasn't flashy or outspoken like some of the other employees. Instead, she preferred to stay in the background, focusing intently on perfecting each plate that came out of the kitchen. To Marco, Elena was reliable but unremarkable, a steady presence he appreciated but seldom thought about beyond her role at the stove. What Marco didn't know, and what no one else at the restaurant suspected, was that Elena carried a secret. Beneath her reserved demeanor lay a deep well of courage and resourcefulness honed during years of hardship. Before coming to the United States, Elena had been a paramedic in her hometown of Guadalajara, where she had saved countless lives in high-pressure situations. But when violence erupted in her neighborhood, forcing her to flee with her young daughter, she left behind not only her career, but also the recognition she once received for her bravery. In Chicago, she chose to keep her past private, content to live a quieter life away from the chaos she had endured. The turning point came on a bitterly cold January evening, when Marco's world nearly unraveled in an instant. That night, the Trattoria was unusually busy, packed with patrons eager to escape the winter chill. Marco moved between tables, greeting guests and making sure everyone was happy, while Elena worked tirelessly in the kitchen, plating dishes with precision. Around 9 p.m., as the dinner rush began to wind down, Marco excused himself to check on his family upstairs. Above the restaurant was a small apartment where he lived with his wife, Isabella, and their 2 children, Luca, age 8, and Sofia, age 5. When Marco opened the door to the apartment, he was greeted by silence, a stark contrast to the usual hum of activity. At first, he assumed his family had gone to bed early, exhausted from the day's activities. But as he stepped inside, he noticed something was off. The air smelled faintly of smoke, and the hallway light flickered erratically. Panic surged through him when he entered the living room and saw flames licking up the walls near the kitchenette. A space heater, left too close to a stack of blankets, had ignited a fire that was quickly spreading. Marco shouted for his family, his voice cracking with fear. He found Isabella unconscious on the couch, overcome by smoke inhalation, while Luca and Sofia huddled together in a corner of their bedroom, coughing violently. Desperate to get them out, Marco scooped up his son and tried to carry him toward the exit, but thick black smoke filled the apartment, obscuring his vision and searing his lungs. His strength faltered as he stumbled back into the living room, unable to reach Sofia or wake Isabella. It seemed hopeless, until Elena appeared in the doorway. Unbeknownst to Marco, Elena had grown concerned when she hadn't seen him return to the restaurant after checking on his family. Sensing something was wrong, she climbed the stairs and discovered the inferno raging inside the apartment. Without hesitation, she sprang into action. Using skills honed during her days as a paramedic, Elena covered her mouth with damp cloth and crawled low to avoid the toxic fumes. She reached Isabella first, dragging her limp body out of the apartment and laying her gently on the landing outside. Then she went back in for the children, shielding them with her own body as she guided them to safety. By the time firefighters arrived, the blaze had consumed much of the apartment, but thanks to Elena's quick thinking, Marco's family survived. Isabella regained consciousness en route to hospital, and though Luca and Sofia suffered minor smoke inhalation, they were expected to recover fully. As paramedics tended to his loved ones, Marco turned to Elena, tears streaming down his face. "You saved them," he choked out, gripping her hands tightly. "You saved all of us." Elena simply nodded, her expression calm but resolute. "It's what I do," she said softly, brushing off his gratitude as if it were nothing extraordinary. But Marco couldn't shake the enormity of what had just happened. This woman, this quiet, unassuming employee whom he had barely acknowledged beyond her duties in the kitchen, had risked her life to save his entire family. In the days that followed, Marco struggled to process the events. He replayed the scene in his mind over and over, marveling at Elena's composure under pressure and wondering how someone so seemingly ordinary could possess such extraordinary courage. Determined to learn more about the woman who had become his family's hero, he invited Elena to sit down with him after closing hours. Over cups of espresso in the now-empty dining room, Elena reluctantly shared pieces of her story. Her training as a paramedic, her decision to leave Mexico, and her desire to start anew in America. "I didn't tell anyone because I wanted to leave that part of my life behind," she admitted, her voice tinged with both pride and sadness. "But when I saw the fire, I couldn't stand by, not when there were lives to save." Marco listened intently, his admiration for Elena growing with every word. By the end of their conversation, he realized that this remarkable woman deserved far more than a thank you. She had given him a second chance with his family, a gift he could never repay, but he vowed to honor her sacrifice in whatever way he could. In the weeks following the fire, Marco Rossi found himself unable to return to business as usual. The near tragedy had shaken him to his core, forcing him to confront not only his vulnerabilities, but also the blind spots in how he valued the people around him. For years, he had treated employees like cogs of a machine, essential for keeping the restaurant running smoothly, but rarely acknowledged beyond their roles. Elena Morales, however, had proven that every individual carried untapped potential and hidden depths. Her actions weren't just heroic. They were transformative, reshaping Marco's perspective on leadership, gratitude, and humanity. Determined to show his appreciation, Marco began making changes at Rossi's Trattoria. Changes inspired by Elena's quiet strength and selflessness. First, he promoted her from line cook to sous chef, giving her a leadership role in the kitchen and a significant raise. It was long overdue recognition of her talent and dedication, though Elena initially hesitated to accept it. "I don't need special treatment," she told Marco firmly. "I did what anyone would have done." But Marco wouldn't take no for an answer. "This isn't about charity," he replied. "It's about fairness. You've earned this, Elena. And more importantly, you've shown me what true leadership looks like." The promotion marked the beginning of a deeper partnership between Marco and Elena. As sous chef, Elena brought fresh ideas to the menu, incorporating flavors and techniques from her Mexican heritage that delighted customers and set Rossi's apart from other Italian restaurants. Dishes like mole-infused ravioli and chipotle spicy arrabbiata became instant hits, drawing rave reviews and boosting sales. Elena's creativity reminded Marco of the importance of embracing diversity, not just in cuisine, but in perspectives and experiences. Beyond the kitchen, Marco implemented broader reforms aimed at fostering a culture of care and mutual respect among his staff. He introduced flexible scheduling to accommodate employees with families, provided health benefits previously reserved only for senior managers, and established an emergency fund to support workers facing financial hardships. These initiatives stemmed directly from Elena's example, which underscored the value of looking out for one another in times of need. Marco also made a personal commitment to get to know his team better. He started hosting monthly dinners where employees could share stories about their lives outside work, creating space for connection and understanding. During one such gathering, Elena opened up about her journey to America, describing the sacrifices she had made to provide a better future for her daughter, Camila, who was now a high school senior excelling in academics and art. Hearing her speak, Marco realized how much he had underestimated her resilience, and how much he still had to learn from her. Outside of work, Marco extended his gratitude in ways that went beyond professional boundaries. He invited Elena and her daughter to join his family for meals, outings, and holidays, treating them as extended kin. At first, Elena resisted, wary of overstepping or imposing. But Marco insisted, arguing that family wasn't defined solely by blood. It was built through shared moments and unwavering support. Over time, Elena came to see the Rossis not as employers, but as allies, people who genuinely care about her well-being and wanted to celebrate her successes. One particularly poignant moment occurred during Camila's high school graduation ceremony. Standing alongside Elena, Marco watched proudly as the young woman walked across the stage to receive her diploma. Afterward, he pulled Elena aside and handed her an envelope containing a generous scholarship fund he had set up in Camila's name. "She's going places," Marco said with a smile, "and I want to make sure nothing stands in her way." Elena was speechless, tears streaming down her face as she hugged him tightly. "You didn't have to do this," she whispered. "Yes, I did," Marco replied, "because you saved my family. Now let me help yours." As months turned into years, Elena's influence continued to ripple through every aspect of Marco's life and business. She became not just a trusted colleague, but a confidant, offering guidance on everything from staffing decisions to community outreach programs. Together, they launched initiatives aimed at supporting immigrant workers, including English language classes and legal assistance workshops. These efforts strengthened Rossi's ties to the neighborhood, earning the Trattoria a reputation as a beacon of inclusivity and compassion. Yet, despite all the accolades and milestones, the most profound impact of Elena's heroism lay in the relationships she nurtured. By saving Marco's family, she had inadvertently created a new one, a blended tapestry of love, loyalty, and gratitude that transcended traditional definitions of kinship. For Marco, Elena's presence served as a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing those who matter most. Years after the fire that nearly claimed his family, Marco Rossi looked back on the incident not as a tragedy, but as a turning point, a moment when fate intervened to teach him invaluable lessons about humanity, humility, and interconnectedness. Elena Morales' act of bravery had sparked a chain reaction, transforming not only Marco's personal life, but also the ethos of Rossi's Trattoria and its role within the community. What began as an isolated act of heroism evolved into a movement rooted in gratitude, empathy, and collective upliftment. Under Marco and Elena's shared leadership, the Trattoria became more than just a place to enjoy delicious food. It became a hub for connection and empowerment. The restaurant hosted regular events aimed at fostering dialogue and collaboration among diverse groups. Monthly community nights brought together local artists, activists, and entrepreneurs to showcase their talents and share resources. These gatherings often featured panel discussions on topics ranging from immigration reform to mental health awareness, creating safe spaces for people to learn, grow, and support one another. Elena played a pivotal role in shaping these initiatives, drawing on her own experiences to advocate for marginalized voices. She spearheaded a program called Cocina Sin Fronteras, Kitchen Without Borders, which provided culinary training and job placement services for immigrants seeking employment in the food industry. Participants learned everything from knife skills to menu development, gaining hands-on experience while building confidence in their abilities. Many graduates went on to secure positions at top restaurants or even open their own businesses, carrying forward the spirit of resilience and innovation Elena embodied. The success of Cocina Sin Fronteras caught the attention of national media outlets, shining a spotlight on Rossi's Trattoria as a model for inclusive entrepreneurship. Journalists praised Marco and Elena for their commitment to social responsibility, highlighting how their partnership exemplified the power of collaboration across cultural and socioeconomic divides. In interviews, Marco frequently credited Elena with inspiring the changes he had implemented. "She didn't just save my family," he would say. "She saved me from complacency, from ignorance, from taking people for granted. Everything we've built since then is because of her." For Elena, the recognition was bittersweet. While she appreciated the acknowledgement, she remained steadfast in her belief that true heroism wasn't about individual acts, but about creating systems that empowered others. "I'm not special," she often said during speeches and interviews. "What I did that night, anyone could have done if they'd been there. What matters is what we do next, how we use our privileges, our platforms, to make the world better for everyone." Her philosophy resonated deeply with those around her, inspiring countless individuals to pay it forward in their own ways. One such person was Camila Morales, Elena's daughter, who followed in her mother's footsteps by pursuing a career in public service. After graduating college with honors, Camila joined a nonprofit organization focused on disaster relief and emergency preparedness. Her work took her around the globe, responding to crises and training communities to handle emergencies effectively. Though she traveled far from home, Camilla never forgot the values instilled in her by both her mother and the Rossi family: compassion, courage, and a relentless drive to help others. Back in Chicago, Marco and Elena continue to expand their efforts, leveraging the Trattoria's success to address broader societal issues. They partner with local schools to establish scholarship funds for students from low-income families, ensuring access to quality education regardless of background. They collaborated with housing advocates to combat gentrification, preserving affordable living options in neighborhoods threatened by rising property values. And they worked tirelessly to dismantle barriers faced by immigrant workers, advocating for policies that protected their rights and dignity. By the time Marco decided to retire, handing over the reins of Rossi's Trattoria to Elena, the institution had grown into a symbol of hope and progress. Under her leadership, the restaurant maintained its commitment to excellence while deepening its focus on equity and inclusion. Elena introduced new programs, including mentorship opportunities for aspiring chefs and partnerships with urban farms to promote sustainable agriculture. Each initiative reflected her vision of a world where everyone had a seat at the table, not just figuratively, but literally. Marco, now enjoying a quieter life with Isabella and their children, often visited the Trattoria to check on Elena and reminisce about old times. During one such visit, he found himself seated at a corner table, watching as Elena greeted customers with the same warmth and grace she had shown him all those years ago. As she passed by, he motioned for her to join him. "You know," he said, smiling up at her, "when I think about everything you've done for my family, for this restaurant, for this community, I realize something. You didn't just save us from a fire. You saved us from ourselves, from being blind to what really matters." Elena chuckled softly, shaking her head. "You give me too much credit, Marco. All I did was show up when it mattered. The rest was you and everyone else who chose to keep going." Her words stayed with Marco long after she returned to the kitchen. They encapsulated the essence of their journey together: showing up, staying present, and choosing to build something greater than oneself. Through their partnership, they had proven that even the most ordinary moments could yield extraordinary outcomes, if approached with heart and intention. Today, Rossi's Trattoria stands as a testament to the transformative power of gratitude and unity. Its walls are adorned with photographs of employees, patrons, and community members whose lives have been touched by the kindness and courage cultivated within its doors. At the center of it all is Elena Morales, a quiet hero whose actions continue to inspire generations to come.